Hey folks, how you doing out there? Welcome to another Drink and a Wink Peatober edition. We're getting to the end of October, and I don't know if I'm going to catch up with all the ones I want to feature, but we're going to come close. The other problem is I've kind of came down with what is usually my typical. Usually I get it in September, but now that right around my birthday usually, but now that it seems like our weather patterns here in Chicago are like a month later than they used to be. As you can hear, I'm having my kind of weather change cold. It seems to happen twice a year, in the fall and the spring. So I had that, so I haven't been able to drink for a couple of days because I've been, taking other stuff. But I'm kind of coming down from it. Shouldn't have a coughing thing or anything like that. I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about whiskey. On deck here is we're going to talk about Bruichladdich, Port Charlotte's 10, and I want to get the, well, we don't have the full, obviously not the full extent of it, but I want to get Lagavulin in before the end of October, and we might talk about a couple other peated things that are fun. But let's bring it. I want to get done with this quickly, as it's kind of late. Let's talk about the wonderful Bruichladdich Port Charlotte 10. Okay, and I did want to search one thing. Demore price. Yes. Okay. Why I wanted to look something up is I want to tell you a little about Bruichladdich. Now, the Bruichladdich is an old distillery, but it's been around for a long time. But then it kind of had a very definitive closing for a while. What I mean by that is it wasn't operating at all. And then, so in some ways, when it was bought and reopened in 2001, this is kind of like, I like to call it a new old distillery. And now for sure, now in 2025, 24 years later, anything we're buying now, unless it's a very, very, old product, which I'll never be able to touch, is going to be produced by that new ownership. Remy Cointreau did purchase this. It used to be independent, but they seem to be leaving it alone and letting them do its own thing. They make a wide variety of interesting things, and they're also another one of these Isla distilleries, meaning it's on that island of Isla, that like to kind of, I don't know if you want to call, they like to trumpet the powers. Maybe that, or let's say you're stealing a word from the wine, terroir. They really like to bring that note to it. A lot of their offerings can be no age statement. They have other ones that have age statements on there, and then they are also producers of the Octomore, which is a super, super high peated variety, which I actually have only had one glass once, a long time ago. Usually it's generally out of my price range. And at that point, I don't know if I would even enjoy it. So we'll talk about that in a second. But their products are very, very interesting in that they put most of their stuff out, if not all. I don't know I think the classic one is even, yeah, unchill filtered, no color. Unlike a lot of distilleries who aren't really giving you a lot of information, they give you all manner of information. So much so that if you buy a bottle of Classic Laddie, this is their kind of their core range bottom, which is still very nice. I'll talk about that in a second. You can scan this QR code on the box. I don't know if it's on the label, but on the box, and you could actually see all kinds of information of what that bottle, not even that batch, but that bottle, what batch it was in, and what the combinations are in terms of ex-sherry, ex-bourbon cask, and all that kind of stuff. Really cool company. And I also like just kind of their packaging. They've gone away from that kind of old, stately, English, well, UK kind of old, the stuff of leather patches on your elbows and stuff like that. And they've gone with a very interesting modern kind of boxing, which I also like because it also stays, it's just very modern, it's very unique, and they don't look like wine bottles. Some of the other companies, Glenmorangie would be a good example, did a rebranding from the old kind of stately look. I'll show you what I mean. This is an old branding of Glenmorangie. Now, they have done this. So they still have some of their font work and some of the iconography, but the bottles really look to me more like a line that I'm going to buy at Target. And I don't shop Target anymore anyway. So I like that old packaging. Bruichladdich, at least to me, uses this nice, bold, and interesting set of fonts and things like that. And it's unique. The bottles are not all that interesting, but they put a lot of good information on there, and they're not telling you about stuff, nice and flower, just all really good information. Here on this one, un-peated Islay single malt Scotch whiskey, distilled, matured, and bottled, unchilled, filtered, and coloring free at Bruichladdich Distillery, Isle of Islay. Okay, the package might give you more information, but made using 100% Scottish-grown barley. Okay, so really interesting company. Here's the other thing: Remy Cointreau has not seemed to yet up the prices on their product. Now, we'll go to that Octomore. That Octomore, okay, and it comes out in yearly editions. I'm going to actually sip of this Port Charlotte 10. Now, my tastes are a little off because, like I said, I've had a cold for the last couple of days. But this is what I'm talking about. This plastic is around there because this, the cork for this bottle has gotten a little bit gappy. So once in a while, I was going to replace the cork, and then I decided, well, it's still kind of fitting, but I always wrap it in plastic a little bit on the top. I'm doing a little bit, I don't know, probably overdoing it a bit. The Octomore is like one of the highest peated Scotch whiskies you could find. I don't know if it's 180 parts of or phenols per million. I don't even know, and they vary. I don't know that I need to get into that. They also are. You're not going to find one for under, or it's going to be at least $100, and most of the time it's going to be more than 120, maybe even 200 if it's a year, year off. So I'm not going to buy those at this point, purely just for money reasons. And again, I don't know that I'm going to like it. The two most available ones are probably the Bruichladdich Classic Laddie, which I'll talk about in a second, but this peated version, Port Charlotte, heavily peated. From what they say on the canister, I don't know if they have they're giving me a points per million on this one. Lots of information. If I scan the barcode, I'd be able to see exactly how much they're peating this. But this is going to be peated in the same range, probably in the, I would guess, 40 to 55 range that Laphroaig 10 and Ardbeg 10 are in. Peated whiskey, 10 years old. On the nose, again, my nose is a little off. Lemony, a little bit of salt, a little bit of seaweed. Tingly on the nose. It's going to be, because I think this is bottled at 50%. They also tend to bottle at higher ABVs than others in their age bracket. So Laphroaig 10, I think, is at 43 or 46. I could look back there, but I'm not going to. Ardbeg is the same thing. Their 10 is 43 or 46. I could tell you. Well, I can't read Laphroaig, but yeah, this is at 46. I think the Laphroaig is a little lower. If I'm wrong, still, these are at 50. Really classic flavors. There's not a ton of a sherry note here. This just seems like really earthy barley sugars. Like I said, lemon, a little bit of seaweed. A little bit of a ginger note on there, on the taste. I'll tell you, that is hard to beat in this category of a 10-year-old. Little bit of an orchard fruit note. Michael Jackson in his handbook says that there's some coconut there. I'm not getting that, but why not? On the end, think of some dry, unsweetened fruit. Okay, kind of like if you're drinking or you're eating dried fruit, but not sugared. You know what I mean? Like apricot, or I don't want to say raisin, but yeah, that kind of stuff. Or maybe apple chips, but again, not sweetened. That flavor, there is definitely some seaweed note there on the end, on the finish. But it's really tasty. In terms of that peat wheel of talking about campfire and seaweed and medicinal, not a lot of medicinal on here. And actually this one, unlike some of the other ones, maybe the campfire is a little muted and this is a little more seaweedy. But it's really more of an earthy kind of vibe, more than just like kapow. I just, ate whatever, kelp, not kelp. What is the thing? She had them around here somewhere. Not seaweed cakes, but what is the thing I'm looking for? Help me out if you're watching. Anyway, really tasty. I would say, for my money, that if my Ardbeg, these days especially, if my Ardbeg 10 and my Laphroaig 10 and my Port Charlotte ran out all exactly at the same time, which means I'm doing a night full of drinking. I'm not going to do that. I would probably actually replace the Port Charlotte first at this time, because I kind of know what Laphroaig's about. Maybe Ardbeg would be a leader, but I'll tell you, it's been eye-opening to tell me. I've been drinking these really old, stately type classics, if you will, and then along with these relatively new bottlings. Like I said, Port Charlotte has been around for a little bit, but boy, this is good. There's a nice balance here. And if I was going to say, of all the peated whiskeys that I've talked about, okay, let's take away price. If I was going to recommend what's the first one to get, this would be right there, Bruichladdich Port Charlotte. It's just that tasty. And again, it's all natural, no color, no chill filtering, 50%. What's the price, you might ask? Well, this one has gone up a little bit. It used to be, in the old days, that a good 10-year-old Scotch whiskey could be purchased for $60. It was kind of like $60, 10-year-old, 12-year-olds are all kind of falling in that, okay? Some of the big names were a little higher. This one has climbed up to now where a lot of them are now hitting the $70 range. In terms of comparison, if that's too much money for you to spend on whiskey, then you're not going to listen to anything that I'm talking about. In comparison to other ones, you're getting a bigger value on this one as well. So I highly recommend it. Well balanced. And the thing that's most surprising is being up 4%, getting to that 50 mark, 50% alcohol, or alcohol by volume. It's a very smooth drinker. Now, sometimes when I have been sick before, and you've got, I'm not going to get into it. All the names of what's going on are gross. Sometimes I've noticed that a higher ABV whiskey actually goes down a little easier than when I'm, free of toxins. And that sometimes can hit me, but right now, this has not hit me heavy. The peat doesn't hit me heavy. I get it. It's all over this. And this now empty glass, I'm going to put the last couple of drops in my hand. Even with my cold. Yeah, that's a very much... I said there's not a lot of campfire, but on that, it's just very much, kind of burnt wood and some seaweed, or maybe, if you're grilling fish on a wooden plank, that the smell of the burning plank is what I'm getting here. It's just going to get charred in the grill. That's just a really nice smell. I'm going to say that Port Charlotte 10 for my money, again, is one of my top picks in this uh, in this kind of showdown here. Again, if you were, after watching this, and if you want to go back and look, and I'm trying to post some of those as they fall off of Facebook, because if you're going to buy your first peated whiskey, if you're going by names, yeah, you're going to go with Lafroig or Ardbeg or Lagavulin. But if you want, listen to Scorza for a minute, this would be great as your first peated whiskey. And let everyone else think, oh, you should have got this or that, the other thing. If you're watching this, but you're like, man, I just don't like peated whiskey, or you've had a few, I say, one of the ones you've had, get something that's really good like this. But if you're not, and you're just kind of interested in single malt Scotch whiskey, and you really haven't done that yet, then I'm going to say, hey, check out the Classic Laddie. This one, I think, this bottle was given to me. I think we bought one, and I think somebody gave me this one. And I don't reach for this often, but I should, to be honest. The Classic Laddie is a no-age statement, but it's a really nice blend of ex-bourbon and ex-sherry cask. Again, you would scan the barcode on this, and it would tell you exactly the breakdown. Still, with this being a no-age statement, what they're doing it with aging more than makes up for it, and there's nothing young feeling this about this. This is probably 5 or 6 year old whiskey. Maybe it's more. I don't know, but they didn't put an age statement on it. Sometimes they'll do that so that what they have in stock can change a little bit. Once you say, okay, Port Charlotte is 10 years old, that's you have to be aging for that. Sometimes we see it go the other way, like Glenmorangie, the original, which I just showed you, and I have talked about, was for years and years and years was 10 years old, and now they have changed that to a 12-year-old. So they obviously have their just general distillate that they put in there. They have it aging. They have a lot of stock for it. They're letting it sit a little longer. They're giving it to you. So yeah, if you are not going to ever drink peated whiskey because I haven't convinced you, but you are going to check out a Scotch. This one is, you could do worse than this, and I'll explain more. On this one, this is just classic, un-peated, single malt Scotch whiskey. You get the ex-bourbon notes. There has to be some sherry element into it. If I wasn't using my phone for the camera, I would actually scan it. I should have had my iPad scan it, and they will tell you all kinds of things of what's in this blend. Meaning, it's not, again, remember when I say this is a single malt Scotch whiskey, but this is going to be different components. It's going to be their distillate aged in ex-bourbon, ex-sherry. It could be PX sherry, or it could be Oloroso sherry, other bourbons. It could be some combination of new oak, meaning nothing else was aged in it. But this is very, very tasty. This is a high quality, no age statement single malt Scotch whiskey with plenty of vanilla notes, a little bit of fruit notes, a little bit of, if this were a little bit brighter, nice notes. I wouldn't go to say so much as floral, but definitely has some earth into it. It's delicious. They're not hiding anything in that bottle because it's not a clear bottle. It's this weird color that maybe you might mistake for like a bottle of conditioner, but I like that. I think it's fun. Here's the good news on this one. Unpeated Islay single malt Scotch whiskey, distilled, matured, and bottled, unchilled, filtered, and coloring free at Bruichladdich. You can go and check it out. 50% still. Guess how much this one's costing right now? $50. So if you aren't paying attention to anything in Peatober, but you've been listening to me to talk about single malt Scotch whiskey, and I'm going to give you like a starter. I used to say things like Glenmorangie original, like the one I was just showing you, or maybe Glenfiddich 12, the one that has a big deer head on there, though it used to be in kind of a weird triangular box. I don't know if it's still that way, or anything like that. I would say again, don't be scared off by the Bruichladdich distillery. That name is hard to pronounce, The whiskey is delicious, and like I said, this is wonderful. This is also interesting. This is such a very interesting bottle. If you're going to a bar that has, you know, more than 3 Scotch whiskeys, you know, make a good bar, and you see this bottle. This is a nice pour. Taste it first. I'll bet you're going to be interested, and you might buy this one. This one is really good, and I forget about it because again, it's anything like woo mind blowing. But if you are looking for unpeated, check this out. So I'm giving a big thumbs up to. Oh, is that going to pop up on the screen? I don't know. Yep, there it is. I'm going to give a big thumb. Jeez, let's do it again. Woo! Yay! We'll do it again. I don't know. Thumbs up. Anyway, name before, and you're like, but you're not into Scotch or even, you know, Scotch or whiskey at all. The other thing to note is if you are a martini maker or a gin enthusiast, if you know this one, the Botanist 22, this is, hey look, conceived, distilled, and handcrafted on the island of Islay. And you turn this one around, and this gin is distilled at the Bruichladdich distillery. So if you know this gin, and this is fantastic gin, right? A lot of people like this one. This is very interesting. And if you want to help out good old Scorza, I have some of my people that are in the right places looking for this. But if you are in a shop and you're looking in the gin aisle and you want to help Scorza out, the Botanist 22 comes in a standard version, which I love. Okay, Islay Dry Gin. They also have, ready for this, they have an aged gin, which looks like, well, it looks a little bit like whiskey because they're aging it like they would be aging their whiskey. That's not the one I'm looking for. What I'm looking for, since this is Peatober, is the bottling of Botanist 22 aged in an ex-peat whiskey cask. So what they might actually be doing is casks that held Port Charlotte 10, they're aging it and adding a bit of smokiness to their regular Botanist 22. If anybody sees that in a shop, let me know. Give me a text, give me a call, give me a ring. I might have you buy me for it. Buy me for it? It's not on the Binny's catalog, and that I might show up in somewhere else. So again, I'm not looking for the one that's just aged in a cask. I'm looking for the one that's aged in a peat whiskey cask. The Scotch Test Dummies tried that. That's one of my favorite YouTube channels. Really funny guys from the States that do a lot of whiskey focus, especially Scotch whiskeys and stuff. They do American whiskeys too, but they really have a lock on single malt Scotch whiskey. As their kind of, and it's called Scotch Whiskey Dummies. That's the page. They love that gin that aged in a peat cask. I'd like to check it out. All right, I wanted to make this video short, and I kind of ended up going long. But I really am really a fan of Bruichladdich, and again, that's how it's usually pronounced. It looks like Bruichladdich, but Bruichladdich. Okay, if you can get a little bit in there, Bruichladdich, then you're getting close. Bruichladdich. All right, wonderful. Port Charlotte 10. I'm going to rate that at an 8. Wow, what am I going to rate it at? You know what? I really enjoyed it today, and again, considering that it's a 50% an unchilled filter, everything, and it has a distinct profile, well balanced. I'm going to rate it very high today. I'm going to rate that an 8.5. The Bruichladdich Classic Laddie, I'm going to go a little lower, but considering that you're getting 50% at $50, I'm going to rate that at an 8.3, which is a little higher than I used to. Think about this one. This one is very interesting. The first time I ever had this was out at a bar near, I can't remember. We were with some musician friends. It was a bar near the City Winery here in Chicago. And we were having a good time. I remember some of my other musician friends were out there, and I had this. Michelle and I both had it. We really enjoyed it. And it's at a perma-shelf. And if people keep on giving it to me, then I guess it is a perma-shelf. But this is, don't laugh at this one, okay? This is really good. And like I said, maybe if they don't have any age statement on it, I know everything is going to come out of here. You will not hate or feel like this is bad stuff. You might not be into the taste profile, but check out the Bruichladdich. They also have just one that's completely 100% Islay barley, I think. They have a lot of different unique kind of interesting bottlings. check them out. All right, tomorrow, I don't know. I'm actually, I got some activities, non-musical family activities tomorrow. And I know it's Halloween. I don't know if I'm going to get to it, but I'd like to wrap up. Maybe I'll do Lagavulin. We'll see. And I don't really have a Halloween theme for that, but that's kind of the last one of the single malt Scotch whiskeys that I want to talk about. And then I might go American with one last little tip. And if I don't do that as a video, I'll do it as just a text one. Or maybe I'll do both. I don't know. We'll see. I know threes of people are waiting. You got to wrap up this Peatober right. Anyway, hope you're sticking with us. After this, we get into November. We'll get back into some rye, and we'll jump around a little bit. We'll see what's going on. All right. Got some cool Irish whiskey that I need to check out that we haven't even opened yet. We'll talk about that. All right. See ya. And now the cough is coming. See you back here maybe tomorrow if you dare. Oh, boy.